Hello and welcome to another game review. It is not that common to see new concepts in video games. Everyone is either chasing current trends, like the King of the Hill games that are the current cash cow, just like the FPSs were a few years ago. So, seeing a new concept makes me rejoice to no end, and this is what leads me into talking about Prismata. I understand that there are games similar to Prismata, but they are either card games or strategy games. What this one does is blend the two different types of game into one and discards the worst of it, but keeps the good ideas close at heart. That might be particularly due to it being in development for a few years already, and even so, it is still in early access. But oddly enough, it is not the usual kind of early access. Most of the game is already finished, and it is already so well balanced and has an ever-growing community that it might as well be released now. The gameplay looks like any other card game out there, like Hearthstone or any of the hundreds of similar games that have popped up in the recent years, but with a twist. You must actually build units that farm resources, which are then used to build attack or defense units, and that is something commonly found in strategy games. And even better is the removal of almost all of the RNG that other games of this type have. Both players have the same card pool, and everything comes down to strategy. So, if someone loses, it is not because they drew worse cards than the opponent. No, it's just because they got outplayed. But this is a double-edged sword. What this means is that there will be a lot of theory crafting and min-maxing, which implies that there will be a strict way of playing, basically the optimal way to get the maximum amount of attacks, blocks and resources, and not following this meta would put anyone at a disadvantage. And this can be only countered by introducing many different cards into the game, which in turn would make the game harder to balance, but the creators have done well so far, which gives me hope. In the end, I can only say that the game is easy to get into with its elaborate introduction through the campaign, after which you can safely go into the other parts of the game. Prismata has 7 game modes: the campaign, casual matches, training, ranked play, custom games, expert challenges and event modes. It is set up in such a way that everyone from a complete casual to hardcore fans can find a niche to play in. I would recommend every starter to play the campaign first. It is just a quick introduction to the world that the game is set in, and it does it well. There are a few quirky characters that do witty banter through the campaign, and we learn about the situation with the AI in the universe. But since only the first part of the campaign is out at the moment, and with the second one being due until the end of April, my opinion about it might change later on, but that's the nature of early access games. On the other hand, the campaign isn't the main focus anyway, it is the PvP matches. And it shows. In the main menu of the game, the player is allowed to talk in global chat, where people can exchange ideas about tactics and proper use of certain cards, or just talk about the game in general, and the community, even though small at the moment, is quite friendly. But that might be a problem too, since there aren't that many players at the moment. The matchmaking can put an inexperienced player against someone who has more matches under his belt, and thereby being outclassed. That is why I would recommend playing few games against bots before jumping into PvP. So, to wrap this all up, Prismata is a breath of fresh air when it comes to card games, with its fun combination of RTS and tabletop elements. But even so, I would still recommend waiting until it goes free to play, which it will on release, and when a much larger influx of players happens. As it is right now, there are around 200 players online concurrently at peak hours. And another thing that I am against are the microtransactions. Yes, they are only cosmetic, but microtransactions are microtransactions, even though you can get those items through in-game gambling, which is bad in its own way. So, if you liked my review, do leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more reviews like these. And as always, goodbye and thanks for listening.